Yes, and welcome back to the Fresh Arsenal Show Transfer Shorts with me, PB. And today we are looking at a player that Arsenal have pretty much signed, and by the time you're watching this, probably announced out of nowhere. So, no time to have done a video before they've announced him. Arsenal have come in for Porto midfielder Fabio Vieira, who a lot of people have not heard of. I have very limited knowledge of before I started doing the research for this video, and not someone that Arsenal had been linked to at all, I don't think. So, firstly, shows that the Gunners are doing plenty of work in the background. No matter what we may see or not see with links in the press, it looks like Arsenal are serious this summer. And it looks like, as well, on top of Vieira, Arsenal are still pursuing moves for Gabriel Jesus and Yuri Tillman. So check out those videos on our channel as well. But the basic stuff on Vieira before we get into more detail. He's an attacking midfield player. He can play in the number 10 role on the right and sometimes on the left. He has played a few games through the middle as a striker as well, and a little bit deeper in midfield. So a very versatile player. He's left-footed, but very strong weak foot from what I've seen. Valued at 22.5 million on transfer marks. Looks like he's coming for around 30 million, rising to 34. 22 years of age, only just turned 22 in May. 5'7", classic sort of height of a playmaker. And he's averaged a goal or assist every 66.5 minutes in the Portuguese league this season. So he's very much someone who can contribute in the final third for the team. So the first thing we're looking at here is the radar of Fabio Vieira from Oh That Crab on Twitter. And what really stands out in all of the statistics that I've looked at is his creativeness and his ability on the ball. So it's circled in green there. We've got pass efficiency, progressive passes, open play XA, so expected assists, and turnovers. So turnovers is how often he is dispossessed. So this guy's very secure in possession, looks after the ball, looks to be pretty press resistant player, and will help Arsenal sort of retain the ball in that final third. But most importantly, progress that ball and play the killer pass an awful lot. So very impressive stats on those fronts. So I'm sure you've all seen some compilations on YouTube of Vieira, but I wanted to just pick out a few moments in some games that I've seen, and some interesting behaviour from him on the pitch, which is quite exciting. So in this first side, we can see Vieira's got the option of a couple of easy passes there. But if he plays it into that forward, his back's to goal. He's got plenty of defenders behind him. He cuts inside on his right, so he's happy to go on his weaker foot, which, as I say, appears to be very strong. Again, he's got some easy passes there, but does that create an opening for the team? No, all his players are sort of back to goal. But what he identifies is over there on the right, a player who is unmarked, and he can see the pass through to him, creating that goal scoring opportunity. That player is facing the goal, as I say, plenty of space and unmarked. And that's really great behaviour from your playmaker in the team, and some really exciting sort of movement. His ability to go on both feet and identify space looks to be very much top level. And this example then, Vieira receives the ball in a tight scenario under plenty of pressure. In front of him, again, he sees one striker with three defenders. He recognises then that is not the way to go. Opens his body up onto his left. Again, he has an easy pass, and perhaps we've seen plenty of Arsenal midfielders in the past in this scenario just knocking it back to that red line. But what he sees is his runner on that left wing, and he's playing that penetrative pass rather than safe. Again, he's identified that space. And still, in this scenario, it's a very difficult pass to play. It's got to be played with expert weight. And he manages to pull it off. As you see, that is the final scene. The striker does score from that scenario. And that is real top-level playmaking. And in the final on-pitch example we're looking at, again, Vieira is here with the ball on the right wing. He can see perhaps the obvious pass here is to the right winger, and he may have pace on the guy next to him, but what he can identify is that triangle of three players. So even if the winger was to get past the guy marking him in the picture, he is likely to be closed down and be dispossessed there. So he's not even looking at this striker over on the left at this point. But in the next slide, we can see he's opened his body up onto his left and he's identified that space and that opportunity. Again, you see there's five around him and the winger, but he's identified a 1v1. And the fact he's so comfortable to play penetrative passes on his left or right makes it him so unpredictable in these scenarios. So again, he plays this through. I don't think it resulted in a goal this time, but the striker got a clear shot on goal, which is, again, another excellent move from him. Quick reminder to please subscribe to the channel. We're new and growing, and it will really help us produce more of these over the summer. So now we're looking at another graph on the screen, and this is from Oh That Crab on Twitter again. And this compares under 23s, and what we've got on the bottom axis is expected assists, and on the side we have progressive passes. So the best players at progressive passes and creating goals and chances to score would be right in the top right of this graph. And as you can see, Vieira highlighted in the red here, he's very close to that. All these other dots are other under 23 players. This is comparing with the big five leagues plus Portugal, Belgium, and Netherlands. Obviously, some caveat is perhaps that Vieira is playing in a weaker league than a lot of the players that will be plotted on this, but it's certainly really encouraging to see him up at the high end of both of those metrics, because Arsenal definitely lack creativity at times, and especially when Odegaard's not on his game, or if he picks up an injury next season, Arsenal need more playmakers in the squad. And even on the pitch at the same time, the team have struggled to break down deeper blocks in the past, and this is a player that's really going to help in a lot of different match scenarios. So where does Vieira fit into this Arsenal team then? It's hard to tell exactly what Arteta has in mind for this player, but I see him as he is a left-footed creative player. I predominantly see him as a player that's going to play rotating in for Odegaard and Saka, either in that right midfield role or as the right 8 in a 4-3-3. There's been a lot of talk I've seen, he needs to start every game for the amount we've spent. But as I've said in some previous videos, we're moving into the 5-sub era. We've got European football. These players are going to get a lot of minutes, especially if you're first backup for two players. And there are other ways to get them all on the pitch. So I see him predominantly perhaps in this role. Again, with the little yellow lines, we can see he can go inside and out, left foot, right foot. And that I could see him combining really well with Saka and the new centre forward, whoever that may be. As I mentioned there, can also come in for Saka. He is strongest left foot. He does have a good long shot on him as well. So he's got that ability to do what Saka does, cutting in from the left, and also ability to switch it up and cut outside on the right. From what I've seen, it's exciting to think about the link-up play he could have with Odegaard and Saka. So how could we get all three of them in the team? Well, as I say, Vieira very two-footed. I think this would be quite an attacking lineup to play, but obviously there'll be match scenarios where Arsenal will need to load the pitch with creativity and players who can make the difference. And say Arsenal are trailing, and let's face it, Arsenal have one of the worst records from coming behind in the league. They need players that can create scenarios like this. When defenders are sitting deep in the opposition, I think this will be Arsenal's go-to format. So we've got Vieira and Odegaard sitting ahead of Partey in the midfield, and that just is going to create a hell of a lot of chances for the front line. Finally, then, this one's not been talked about an awful lot for Vieira as a potential position, but on doing my research on him at Porto, he has played a few games actually through the middle as a striker, and it is possible he's got sort of all the tools that he could play a bit of a false nine, a bit like a Lacazette dropping in, very different in style, of course, but Arsenal did at times play with a striker that's dropped in. So I think it's important, this is very unlikely to be plan A, but if Arsenal are to only re-sign Nketiah and sign one striker, then you do need players like Vieira and Martinelli who are capable of playing through the middle. and creating different sort of dynamics. So if Arsenal are looking to really just load the pitch with playmakers, if Tielemans comes in into that left centre midfield role, this is a way you could have Tielemans, Vieira, Erdegaard, Smith Rowe, and Saka all on the pitch at the same time, and that is a team that can unlock some very deep and difficult defences. So my verdict, it doesn't really matter ultimately because Arsenal have signed this player. But from what I can see and what I've done so far in terms of research, this looks like an excellent signing to provide vital depth to Arsenal's attacking areas. Speaking to some experts in Portugal, he's very much viewed as the next breakout star from the division. As I said earlier, just turned 22 in May. So this is looking like a high potential signing. I don't see him as someone who's going to walk straight into the starting 11. As I say, he's not even been a complete regular this season for Porto. So expectations should not be through the roof for this player yet. But this is a player who's going to take our reliance off of Erdegaard and Saka and allow us to get several playmakers on the pitch at once if we need to. Thank you very much for watching the latest transfer short from the Fresh Arsenal Show. Please like the video if you enjoyed the content, and also please subscribe for more.